We are looking forward to how God is going to work in and through us as we continue to move forward until everyone hears about our Lord Jesus Christ, until we have movements everywhere and everyone knows someone who truly follows Jesus. As we are working on this as a movement, we have had to look at how we can reorganize in order to be more effective. A lot of work has gone on. We have involved different segments of the organization. We've come up with a lot of great ideas, and we are finally settling on an approach to leadership, a way to relate as leaders, and we are looking at something that is different from what it used to be in the past. And yet at the same time, we realize that it's not all about structure. It's not all about smart organizational ideas and principles. It really comes down to who the leaders are, who the staff are. It comes down to the mind of the leader. And so when we are looking at the situation as it is now, and the leadership that we need to be able to move forward, we have to ask ourselves, what mindsets do we need in the leaders who will take us forward? What mindsets are prevalent now? So therefore, what needs to change? We also need to look at what new leadership behaviors do we need? What are the current leadership behaviors? So what changes are needed? And these will then inform trainings and other equipping resources that we need to be able to make those changes possible. I like to speak to the subject of the mindset shifts that we are looking at. And I'm not speaking to this in the sense that we don't have these mindsets and we therefore need to have them now, but I want to speak in terms of less of and more of, right? So from to, but it's within the context of less of and more of. And the first one I will speak to is less of a fear culture and more of a freedom culture. When the leader is leading more with control instruments instead of empowering instruments, and is looking more at restrictions instead of encouragement to take risks, people are more concerned about the boundaries and the violation of the boundaries and the implications than they are about the opportunities and how to seize them and the freedom to go after the opportunities even if you make mistakes. We can also talk about another mindset shift, that is the mindset of independent thinking to the mindset of interdependent thinking. And so that shift is very, very important because my role and my areas of responsibility are a part of a whole. And so I am not given a responsibility so that I'll chase after it, ignoring all others. We are not in competition. I will fulfill my part of our part, being mindful of others who are involved. We can also talk about having less of empowering by bringing others down to empowering by lifting everyone up. If I'm going to empower those who are in geography, then I need to disempower those who are in strategy. That kind of thinking is scarcity mindset. When we want to look at the subject of empowerment, we should look at empowerment with an abundance mindset. And that means all of us can win at the same time. Then we need to have less of leading with control and more of leading with empowerment, but leading with a mindset that less is more. What do I mean by less is more? Basically, we are talking about leadership that focuses on a few cardinal principles and allows for flexibility in strategies and methods. And we also can look at less of unity through uniformity and more of unity through diversity. When you are promoting uniformity, you are not creating room for relevance to the various diverse contexts within which we are operating. And we also can look at less of I am for geography, I am for strategy, I am for operations, and more of I am for geography, strategy, operations. Because geography, strategy, operations are different areas of leadership that are essential for us to be able to accomplish our mission. It is a completely irrelevant question to ask which is more important, geography, strategy, or operations, because they are all important, just like the human body. That's just looking at some of the mindset shifts in the context of less of and more of. But let's now come to the kinds of leadership behaviors that it will take for us to be able to lead in this new era in ways that will increase our level of effectiveness and fruitfulness. The first leadership behavior I like to look at is that of leading from a place of restedness. I like to say that the world needs more rested leaders. A leader who is at rest is a leader who has placed his or her confidence fully in God, has laid all the concerns in his or her life at the foot of the cross, and is freed and liberated, for that matter, to chase after God's dreams and to pursue things that only God can bring about. Then we also need leaders who are leading with vision, values, and principles. When you lead with vision, values, and principles, you create a lot of space for people to embrace the vision, to embrace the values, to embrace the principles, and then ask the question, how will this work? Or how will things work in our context? We also want leaders who have the courage to make the tough calls, to make the tough decisions. It is good to be nice, but as I say to leaders when we're having these kinds of conversations, nice leaders don't change the world. Tough leaders do. You can be tough and loving at the same time. You can be strong and soft at the same time. Then, within that context, we can also look at the resolution of conflicts. In this new era, we are going to have those crucial conversations. Not because we want to be confrontational, but we want to be transparent, vulnerable, honest, loving, and committed together to prioritizing our calling to be like Jesus and to proclaim Jesus to the world. We also need leaders who are operating with transparency and authenticity. You know, it used to be that when we were going to make decisions and communicate decisions, especially decisions about leadership, we had a nice way of presenting this. We will say, we have prayed, we have talked with people. In actual fact, there was no serious engagement of others, and people wonder how the decision came about. So having transparent processes is great, but they must be authentic They must be non-manipulative, non-coercive, and they must be characterized by integrity. Now, we also need to look at the speed at which we make decisions, the speed at which we engage to look at very crucial issues. I believe that the way the world is moving, things are very dynamic, very complex, and we have to be leaders who are agile, leaders who are able to make the most of opportunities within the shortest possible time, leaders who are able to retool, repurpose very quickly because our mission is clear, our vision is clear, and we know the principles with which we should be working. And so we are into an era of dynamism, an era of flexibility, an era of adaptability, with only one goal: increasing effectiveness in building movements of multiplying disciples who will take the good news of Christ to everyone on planet Earth and accelerate our common dream and calling, the fulfillment of the Great Commission.